Alright, so this is Joseph Joestar 316. This is Metal Gear Solid 2 HD Collection submission. I'm going to be running this for the single segment New Game Plus category with the intent to go for Big Boss as the highest rank. So it's going to be a full playthrough on EuroExtreme, which is the highest difficulty. Radar off, as it's a requirement along others to go for Big Boss, and not game over if discovered, since either of these conditions is viable for Big Boss, but not game over if discovered is faster and easier to use to route, speedrunning this game. And the timer starts when I select this condition, and the final timer will be on the final hit of Solidus at the end of the game. So in 3, 2, 1, go! Alright, so as we get going here, we're going to be starting on the tanker playing as Snake. You know, as we make our way towards the interior of the tanker, making our way to the navigation deck, there's going to be a few things I'll try to explain on, how I'm navigating throughout the ship, as well as certain optimizations I'm going to try to go for. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, since there's a guard directly above where you start, is we're going to hang a left so he doesn't see you. And at the same time, this guard on the left here is on a cycle, so you can just walk right by him. Don't have to worry about, footsteps creating noise. As long as you don't bump into him. Next, we're going to turn into this hallway and take an intentional shot, while at the same time giving another shot to the guard. Now, in this case, I got very lucky and actually did not take a hit. Although, whether if I took a hit or not, it's just a little bit faster, but it's a planned hit. Alright, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to shoot this guard once, and then a second time while on his flank, so that it goes to a stick-up motion. And double tapping a guard with a tranquilizer dart knocks them out pretty quick. Whereas a headshot with the tranquilizer is an instant effect, there's no delay. But there's certain situations where, quickly double tapping a guard with the M9 is essential, as opposed to doing a headshot. Alright, so now coming up to deck D, I'm going to try to do this misdirect shot in a corner, which will save me about half a second if I do it correctly. Alright, so unfortunately I did not get it. It's pretty hard to get consistently from time to time. You have to, time it right. You have to be in the right spot. But if you get it, it saves you from getting shot in the back. So not that big of a deal. So we finally arrived at the navigation deck, where we're now about to encounter the first boss fight of the run, which is also the first element of RNG in this game, which is fighting Olga. Now, her RNG is where she starts, depending if she goes left or right. Now, in this case, I got a right side spawn, which means I cannot do the Olga Loop exploit, as that exploit is only available when she goes left. And whether or not she goes left or right is just purely random from, attempt to attempt. So, with the right side setup, you get 2 headshots on Olga before she goes to the back to do this dialogue. And then as she comes forward, get another shot for 3 hits, with a 4th hit to end the fight. Just like that. So like I said, whether or not if you get an Olga loop is purely random. Sometimes it's favorable and, sometimes it's not, but that right there is as standard of a right side Olga as you can get. Just basically getting 2 headshots at the beginning with a 2 follow-up after dialogue. So now we acquired our first lethal weapon of the game, which is the USP. Unlucky for us, Olga used up all the rounds, but not to worry. Because now we're going to be doubling back to the engine room, where we're now going to make our way to the holds where Metal Gear Ray is stored to take photographs of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up this ammo box, going right past that camera before it turns to that corner. Next, we're going to shoot this gun in the air like so, which creates that guard's prompt to pull out the radio. And the reason for shooting in that way is to prevent them from kicking you if they discover you up close, since we do it again right here. So in this case, it makes it so that you can just get through without having to address the guards at all. So now making our way back down here, we're going to intentionally get seen with the glass shielding us from the, indirect fire from the guard there. Alright, so we finally made our way to the engine room, and this one's got a particular setup One is for a fast engine room setup, and one is for more like a standard one. I'm gonna go with the standard one because the fast engine room requires very tight movement and roll timing, and it's very hard to get, but it does save you a few seconds if done successfully. Alright, so I'm gonna double tap this guard, and then this guard above me is gonna notice me, so he's gonna meet me down here. I'll take an intentional hit, shoot out his radio, and what that does is it kind of puts me in detection, you know, even though I shot the radio, which by doing so skips this cutscene that you would normally get if you're in like a neutral condition of the room. So shooting the radio is just part of the setup, so that you don't have to deal with the cutscene as well as the guard that comes into the room that you would have to address. Because, you know, normally when you shoot off your USP, it's pretty loud, but by doing that engine room routing, you don't have to worry about the cutscene, and you can fire the sensors to your heart's content. Hey, thank you, Gerald, I appreciate it. Alright, so again, we're gonna double tap this guard right in front of us, and he should just go down very quickly. There he goes. And then we're rolling past him so that we don't get slowed down by his body. Because walking over bodies, whether if they're, you know, just about to go down or if they're on the ground already, it does slow you down. So rolling just, you know, keeps your momentum. Alright, so now I'm gonna be doing the guard rush, which is the first, like, mini boss fight event, if you would. And it's got a unique setup where I'm gonna open up with the USP. Even though the big boss category doesn't allow for kills, it does allow for some opportunities to make things easier. So what I'm gonna try to do is shoot that guard and shrink him in the head. And what that does is it kind of stops him in his tracks so you can get an opening headshot. While at the same time, just kind of shoot the guards as they come in. Alright, so I think that was 5. There's 8 of them. That was 6. So that was 7. And then that was number 8. So now we got the last 3 coming in, so I'm gonna shoot each one. Now, you might be wondering, well, wait a minute. You know, you just killed them. Your big boss run is over. Well, the funny thing is, by killing the last 3 in that particular fashion, it takes them out of the encounter sooner. And the fact that it does so is that by the time that their deaths are registered, the encounter has already ended. So you're allowed to get away with killing them as long as you get them all successfully. Alright, so this is the ladder skip glitch, which when you enter the ladder with the camera equipped, it puts you in an out-of-bounds state, which by doing a careful button sequence, it'll allow you to skip both ladders and then zip right down to the floor, saving you like 12 seconds of climbing. Climbing down. Alright, so in hold 2, we're gonna press this projector button to make all the guards, or the Marines, look right. And we're gonna stick up this guard, and hopefully this guard before he turns, which, okay, so sometimes that happens if he turns on you or not. But if he does, just a quick trink to the head is all that it takes to get you through. So now you notice that I rolled into the room with the camera equipped, which basically puts me in this state where I have it equipped already. And so what I'm gonna do is take 2 pictures here, and then move to this corner right here, take 2 more pictures, and if done correctly, it should give me the Marines logo, as well as the left, middle, and front right pictures. And the very first picture that I took, it is the Marines logo, and, you know, Otacon should confirm it very quickly. See, there's the Marines logo. Now, you might be saying, well, wait a minute, how did this work? There's no Marines logo. Well, in, you know, Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, since it's on a wider screen format, the hitbox for the Marines logo with the camera is very unique, which means you could take it from different places and it still registers. But definitely looks like the Marines logo to me. And so we got the other 3 pictures, and we are now done with the tanker portion of the full run playthrough. You know, so I mean, you could view the tanker as a prologue, you know, which, you know, pretty much is, which then will lead up to the plant chapter, which is where, you know, things really begin. Nah, it's all good, my crab. It's just, I wanted to explain that Marine logo picture. Alright, so now we're starting the plant section, where we're now taking control as Raiden. You know, so Raiden's got some unique qualities that Snake does not have. For example, when in terms of movement, Raiden's cartwheeling is actually more efficient to use more often versus Snake's rolling, as Snake's rolling doesn't really maintain his momentum. It actually slows you down a little bit each time you do it, whereas Raiden actually boosts you ahead each time you use it. And also his cartwheels allows him to make, you know, acrobatics where he could, you know, go across small gaps and openings, as well as just for overall movement optimization. Alright, so we're gonna check into this nerd machine. Oh, I'm sorry, the node machine, right? You know, gotta get it right. I mean, Raiden, in my defense, thought it was nerd, okay? You know, so we checked in with the node. Now, casually, you would check into these nodes if you want to turn your radar on per, like, area. But since we have the radar turned off, we don't actually have to check in at any nodes throughout the run. But the first one down here is required so you can actually, you know, continue with the game. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is execute this setup so that I can knock out this guard as he revives while manipulating the other two. So what I'm going to do is just grab him from behind here, look all the way down with my camera, and then at that point I'm going to punch him from behind, which in this game, punching from behind, depending on your angle, will allow you to punch the guard's groin area. And as silly as it sounds, it actually works. You can do this pretty much on any guard. Granted, you have the right conditions to do so, but we're going to be using that quite a bit. And because the reason why it works so well is that it gets the guard's attention at the front of the room to go back, and then you knock on the side wall so it lures the guard on the left into the middle, leaving the elevator wide open. Alright, so again, we're just skipping through cutscenes codex. There's going to be quite a fair share of them until we get to Strut C, where the bomb defusal really begins. Because again, from now until Strut C is basically like another tutorial. You know, the game tries to teach you how to do certain things, such as, you know, like how to deal with guards, how to create distractions, how to use hanging mode, all that stuff. You know, so again, the game's trying to tell you to, you know, knock on this wall so it gives you an opening to check into this node, but we're in a speedrun here, so we don't care about that. We're just gonna leave the room and pretend like we paid attention to the Colonel's instructions there. Alright, so now we're coming up to the AB connecting bridge, where I think casually on EuroExtreme it could be a little bit intimidating, since guards can see from pretty far away. You take damage very easily from gunfire, so what we're going to do is we're going to cartwheel into this guy here, cartwheel on this exit, and just run right to the door. And right there you could see, like, as a good example of just, you know, having that, you know, like cartwheeling, you know, it just boosts your movement, you know, like, I think it gives you like a couple tenths of a second, like, for every cartwheel you do, which over the course of the run can add up to significant gains over just regular running. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to close this door, which is revealing the first of many bombs that we're going to be defusing once we arrive at Strut C, where we're going to meet up with Stillman, as well as regrouping with Pliskin, who we just met. And, you know, Pliskin is totally, you know, spoilers, he's totally not Snake, by the way, even though he sounds and looks exactly like Snake. But for the time being, he's just referred to as Iroquois Pliskin, just some Marine that got tagged along into the plant. Alright, so just gonna make our way to Strut C. And then right before we go in, we're gonna grab this chaff grenade. Since we're gonna be using quite a bit of them throughout the run. In particular, I'm gonna need 4 to just navigate my way through the first part of the plant. And then we'll collect another 2 later when we reach Shell 2. Yeah, what's up, Black Obsidian? Yeah, Iroquois Pliskin is secretly the 4th clone of the Les Enfants Terribles project. Which, again, looks and sounds exactly like Solid Snake. Alright, so we finally met up with Stillman, who's the bomb defusal expert that was brought in to, you know, help defuse the bombs planted by Fat Man, one of the members of Dead Cell. And also one of the first boss fights of the plant that you will be fighting on later. So, Stillman gives us a sensor A, which allows us to detect the little bombs. And also a coolant spray, which is our primary diffusing method. And, you know, the coolant spray can be done from a distance. It freezes the bomb, so it cannot be detonated. And there's a few other things you can do with the coolant spray, even when the bomb is not in plain sight, which I will demonstrate in a bit. So, once we acquire the coolant spray, we're going to go counterclockwise, meaning we're going to go back to strut B. So we defuse this bomb that we just, you know, closed this door earlier. No, this is the submission video. That's why I'm doing the commentary. Alright, so again, just defuse that bomb, hug the wall. And then make our way back to the AB connected bridge. And then here's a little trick here, since you can't really use your gun, is if you do that roll carefully, like so, for whatever reason, the guard's hitbox, while up against that part of the railing, and if you roll on the inside, it allows you to collide with the guard while cartwheeling, and because his back is faced against the railing towards the ocean, it makes him fall back and over the bridge, which, you know, hard to believe. He's actually not dead, but it's a nice way of dealing with him without having to use your gun. Alright, so here again, we're gonna do another nut punch while defusing this bomb at the Strut A rooftop. And now we're gonna make our way to the pump room of Strut A, which is where I'm gonna be doing the first of several of, you know, bomb defusals without being, like, directly facing a bomb. So first thing I'm gonna do is, you guessed it, another punch. Alright, and another technique I'm gonna be using is what is referred to as coolant rise, which basically means you equip and unequip the coolant as you're standing, which basically cancels a standing animation. And so, right there, I just defused the bomb on the opposite side of that container. And the reason why it's possible is because if you're standing in a particular spot, the bomb, even though it's facing away and hidden, the spray can actually still reach it. Alright, so again, you know, just cartwheel through. Doesn't matter, because with not Game Over Discovery, you have enough time to escape. Alright, so we're going to shoot this Cypher down. And at the same time, we're going to shoot this guy's radio so he doesn't call for backup, getting us an alert. And you'll notice that I go into strut F with a chaff grenade, which is part of a very peculiar setup. Alright, so we're going to throw the chaff, get our M9. Alright, so right as that detonates, we're going to re-equip our coolant spray, and we're going to go down to the bottom floor where this bomb is at. Okay, so I got to move a little bit. Alright, so right there you can see that even though the coolant spray was obstructed, the spray could still actually reach the bomb and disarm it. You know, and so part of this setup makes it easier to reach that bomb. You know, as the guards from downstairs come upstairs, leaving you, you know, free and clear to defuse it. And at the same time, it puts you in caution, which skips a mini cutscene when you first arrive at this bridge. You know, just again, another minor optimization. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to do this cartwheel to prone mine pickup, as it's important for future revisits here. So, what you do is you pick up that mine, and then you just follow the grading there, and just go straight up. And we're going to be doing that quite a bit throughout the run. And by removing that mine, it makes it a lot easier to traverse that bridge back and forth. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is we're going to drink this guard, followed by this guard in the back, this guard up front, as well as the other guard in the corner. We're going to shoot these two cameras, and you might be saying, wait a minute, that guy is going to hear it. Well, the good news for us is the parcel room in here is so loud that this guard that I just shot won't be able to hear it, as long as you shoot it from such a corner. Alright, so we just picked up our cardboard box, which is an important accessory to have for running this game, as we're going to be using it quite a bit for guard manipulation, which I'll explain in a little bit. And we're also grabbing another set of stun grenades, which is for setting up Tengu 1 when we reach Arsenal Gear. And so part of that setup in the parcel room is timed so that by the time you eliminate every guard and camera, it allows you to put yourself in the middle of the room where the bomb will first appear. And again, you know, as you noticed, I sprayed it from behind the container where the bomb is on, but again, the hit registry with the bomb will still reach. Alright, so I'm going to do a fast setup here where I'm going to cartwheel 4 times, followed by a 5th one, like so. And then what this does is it puts me in position to defuse this bomb, and then coolant rise back up like I just did before.
Who's there?
And by doing so, it gives you a quick cycle to defuse the bomb without being seen. And just like that, we're done with Strut E. Alright, so you notice like I'm gonna be holding my select button here because I know that there's this mandatory codec. And anytime there's a mandatory codec which is triggered by a loading zone, what you can do is hold your codec button, which in this case it's select. If you hold select as you're going into that room to load up, it'll automatically pick up the codec on the first available frame. Okay, so I accidentally forgot to equip my box, but I got lucky, so I didn't get shot. Because I was about to explain the importance of having the cardboard box. So yeah, hooray for being lucky. Alright, so now we're coming up to Strut D, which, you know, for most runs, this is probably the hardest in the early game. So what I'm going to do is shrink this guard and this guard as I make my way to the opposite side as I'm trying to beat a guard cycle. Alright, so now we're going to shoot this guy. And then we're going to hanging mode down here and let him deliberately see us. So as we get up, we stun him. And then as I open up this hatch, it's going to do a little cutscene so that I get iframes from him trying to shoot me. Spray the bomb while he's on the radio. Cartwheel into him, which has a shot preceding before it. And then go to these 2 bombs, which these 2 bombs only show up here in Strut D when you're on New Game Plus, which is the benefit to running New Game Plus over New Game or New Game Plus Plus, which places the bombs in different places there. Alright, so for the most part, I think we're good to go. So now I just gotta exit without being seen by the backup that's coming in. Alright, so thankfully we just made it. It's very easy to get caught there if you're a little bit off. Alright, so we're making our way back to Strut C where the bomb defusal began. So we're gonna run underneath this camera, don't need to shoot it. And we're gonna do our first box manipulation. So whenever a guard sees you and you equip the box, the guard doesn't really know what to do.
It's the enemy. I need help.
Because normally a guard's response when they see you is to either shoot and or, you know, try to kick you, depending on if they see you up close. But by equipping the box just for an instant, it breaks their line of sight, which results them in either retreating or pulling out the radio, depending on the circumstances. And we use that a lot to just, you know, either manipulate guards to set up, you know, routing, or just for, you know, just any other kind of setup. And it's very useful for just using the cardboard box. Alright, so we just wrapped up the bomb defusal, and we also picked up Sensor B, which is meant to detect bombs that don't use the Sensor A odor pattern. Because Sensor B is a particular bomb that only uses a sound signature to detect it, which is what the Sensor B is for. Now, we don't actually equip the Sensor B, but the game requires you to pick it up in order to advance the story. So what I'm going to do here is do this shot in the back here, which makes this guard turn around. You know, just a minor optimization so you don't have to, like, go for a headshot. Hey, what's up, Tanner? Alright, so again, we're meeting back up to the AB bridge with our favorite bridge buddy.
Was there a noise just now?
Nah, it was just the wind. It's like, I feel bad for that guy, everyone, because, you know, you knock him into the ocean the first time, you come back, you knock him into the ocean a second time, and, you know, that guard's not having a good day. So now we're making our way back to where we started, which is the sub-level of Strut A, where we're gonna find the Sensor B bomb, which was located in Shell 1,
Right.
whereas Stillman is about to blow up in Shell 2, where the second Sensor B bomb was located. So Raiden making his way back within a 200-second limit, which the time limit to get to this bomb varies by difficulty. But on European Extreme and Extreme, it's 200 seconds from start. Alright, so I don't need the Sensor B because on European Extreme New Game Plus, it puts the bomb here on this wall, ever so conveniently placed. Alternate bomb locations vary on difficulty. Sometimes it gets placed underneath the submarine in the room. Sometimes it's in a different spot altogether. But for New Game Plus, European Extreme, it's always going to be on that wall. Alright, so now we're making our way back up to the surface, where we're now going to encounter our first sort of boss fight, which is against Fortune with the railgun. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use our box again, which is a effective countermeasure for not getting shot with the railgun, because for whatever reason, whenever you have the box equipped like this, Fortune can't hit you. You know, try as she might, but she cannot hit you with the box equipped. So there's really nothing you can do to actually beat Fortune. You're just waiting out the timer. And so the easy way to do it is just using the cardboard box. There is another method where you could just do iframe peaks with the SOCOM. But I prefer to use the cardboard box just for, you know, simplicity. Alright, so the elevator is coming down, so we're like halfway done. That should be it. Alright, so we're picking up these SOCOM ammo boxes, which is for a fight later with Fat Man, which is going to be the first real fight. You know, because like I said, Fortune is basically invincible. You know, any bullets or grenades, you know, tossed at her. You know, grenades don't detonate, bullets go around her. And you don't really want to shoot her because they'll actually make a little mini cutscene of the bullet being deflected, which is why you just go for the box maneuvering. So we're going to equip the box again, which is to avoid mines that are planted here. I know, it's just one of those like hidden traps for beginners. Alright, so now we're going to make our way to Strut E Heliport. Again, doing another box manip so that even though this guy sees me, he doesn't shoot me. It prompts to pull out the radio so I can just cartwheel into him. Again, we do that quite a bit throughout the run. Hey, thanks, Renisnor. I appreciate it, dude. Alright, so we're going to do Strut F a little bit differently, since we now actually have a viable weapon and the cardboard box. So we're going to let this guy see me purposely. Shoot him in the back twice. And then stick to start up. And then just make our way out to the exit. You know, so again, having the M9 along with the cardboard box in areas really makes it easy. You know, because again, these guards can be your worst nightmare. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wait in my box so I let this Cypher go down a bit before I can cross, because if you go early, the Cypher will detect you and cause the alert. You know, definitely don't want that to happen, so I'm going to stay in my box so that the guard to the left doesn't see me, as well as taking an intentional hit so that I can shoot this guy's radio before making my way up to the rooftop. Yo, Messyful, thank you for the host, dude. Alright, so making our way back up to the rooftop of Strut E, again with a 200-second time limit to defuse a Sensor A type bomb, which is really meant to lure Raiden up here. You know, because as you can see, he just plants it right in the middle of the floor, not really in a, you know, threatening spot. Alright, so what I'm going to try to do here is do a particular setup with getting a double hit on Fat Man with the M9 throughout the entire fight. So first thing I'm going to do is defuse this bomb in this container first. Bait out a shot. And then hitting him 6 times will knock him over. And then as he's trying to get up, I have time to defuse the bomb. while hitting him with a second round, which then he proceeds to do what I call the Fat Man Shuffle, where he just kind of, you know, he taunts you and he goes back and forth with his rollerblades. Alright, so again, just hit him 6 times, get a double hit on every knockdown you can get. Alright, so we gotta... Alright, so I'm gonna regenerate my health a little bit, because his body bombs really do a lot of damage. And you'll notice that I'm not really using first-person view for a lot of this, because I'm relying on auto-aiming with the SOCOM to track and hit him. Oh, wow. Well, I guess Fat Man was feeling clingy today. Because, yeah, generally you don't want Fat Man to bump into you. It just slows you down, as well as possibly, you know, risking dying to him. I mean, it is possible to die to him from that if you get hit enough times, but just like that, Fat Man's over. Because as the game specifies, the final bomb is basically him. Just gotta move his body out of the way, disarm it, and that ends the encounter. So now we're instructed to make our way into Shell 1, where Ames, the Secret Service agent, which is placed there to keep tabs on the president, who has also been kept hostage. And we need to find Ames so that we can actually figure out where in the plant facility that the president is located. But before we actually get to the Shell 1 core, we have to pick up a few things first. And so thanks to our, you know, new best friend, the not fake ninja, you know, they provide us with intel, where to find Ames, as well as a BDU uniform, which is the guard's outfit for the core, which is the same outfit that you've seen in the tanker, as the perimeter guards have like a black and gray pattern style, whereas the Shell 1 core guards use like the, you know, darker orange color style. So first thing I'm going to do is equip to our box, as well as BDU, an M9 and chaff. Now, I'm not quite passable for a guard yet, because the next thing we have to acquire is the AKS-74U, which is the weapon of choice for guards stationed in the Shell 1 core, as the guards on the perimeter of the shell use AN-94s, which is definitely not the same as the AK, so again, you know, can't really grab their weapons. You won't pass for a Shell 1 guard. So now we're going to throw a chaff here, which is meant to disable all these ciphers here, making it easier to cross. Making our way to strut F, where the AK is located. Starting with a punch kick buffer, which is just meant to time when it's safe to go down these stairs so you don't get seen. And then we're intentionally going to get seen by this guard, guarding the AK. Pick it up, shoot his radio, and then just equip the AK, and now you can pass off as a Shell 1 guard. Alright, so now we have everything we need to go into the core. So before we go, we're just gonna, again, take out the ciphers. So even though you pass for a Shell 1 guard, the perimeter ciphers, you know, still think you're an enemy. Wow, that was close. You know, so you do have to destroy the ciphers. Alright, so we finally made it into the Shell 1 core, which is, again, where Ames is located. However, we need another item in our, you know, grocery list of things to get, which is the D-mic. Because we're told that Ames has a special pacemaker, which produces a unique sound frequency, and we cannot hear it unless if we use the D-mic. So first thing we're going to do is go into the B2 of the Shell 1 core, which is where the D-mic is located. Alright, so not much going on here. We're just making our way through, cartwheeling as much as we can, because every straightaway that you can get away with cartwheeling is optimal. Alright, so D-mic is in that corner there with these 3 guards. Instead of waiting, you just go right through them, and then make a right. Oh yeah, that's our pet parakeet. You know, it says hello to you every run. Alright, so we make our way back up to the elevator where we came from, as I expertly fell up the stairs. Alright, so now typically the elevator shows up in 3 presses. A fast elevator will show up in 2 presses. You know, but fast elevators are random. Sometimes you get it but when you do, it does save a second or two. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is knock on this wall to lure this guard forward, so that we can use him to open up this door with this biometric sensor here, the scanner.
Retinol pattern recognized. You are cleared to enter.
Alright, so now we made it in. And so now, again, with New Game Plus, Ames' location in this room is random every run. Whereas New Game, it puts him in a spot that's per the story. And he could show up in one of several places. Right here, actually, so this is really good.
You're Ames, aren't you?
You know, sometimes you might get Ames in a spot where he's heavily guarded. Or he just has too many eyes on him from guards patrolling. And there is a unique glitch you can do, which involves a punch-punch kick, equipping to a D-mic while in first person, which basically puts you in a glitch state of having the D-mic even with a guard looking at you, and you can still use it to signal Ames, but fortunately, since Ames was in a very good spot, we didn't have to use the glitch, because the D-mic glitch is mainly a backup strat for whenever Ames is in a bad spot. Alright, so unfortunately, you know, the jig is up. They know that we're not a Galukovich soldier. So now we gotta make our way back out of the shell. So again, we're gonna use this box nip here. Press this elevator button so our iframes make it so we don't bump into this guard. Shoot his radio. Make our way back up to the first floor with a chaff in hand, which is part of an exit strat. So first thing, throw the chaff, go to the right, past this corner, stay underneath this camera until the chaff detonates. And then we're gonna shoot this guard with the riot shield. Because when those kind of guards see you, it's an instant alert. They don't need to pull out the radio to call for help. Alright, so again, we're just shooting out these ciphers as we see them, as we make our way back out. And you want to cartwheel on that bridge so that you don't remove as many panels from it when you come back, because on later difficulties, when you remove panels, they stay missing until the end of the game. So before we go to Shell 2, we're going to need the PSG-1 sniper rifle. Alright, so again, doing the box manip, shooting his radio. And then as I acquire the PSG-1, I'm going to do a punch buffer, which buys me time for this guy to go through without getting kicked.
Everyone, stay on guard.
Doing another box manip. So that I don't get shot there. And on the second guard. And so now we got everything we need to proceed to Shell 2. You know, so again, you're seeing me utilizing this pattern here for crossing the bridge since we removed one mine earlier. And so now, as we enter Strutty this time, we're going to use the box and hug this conveyor belt here so that the SWAT unit in the middle there doesn't see us. And then just quickly make our way out. Alright, so again, you notice that I'm using the BDU still, even though it's lost its, you know, disguise effectiveness, but the other benefit to using the BDU in certain situations that it provides riding with a indirect camouflage from a distance, meaning guards won't see you as from far away. Alright, so again, do another box manip, so it lures this guy back here. And as the, you know, he's being a nice guy today, just opens up the door for us. Alright, so we've now made it to the Shell 1-2 connecting bridge, and you guessed it, more bombs. You know, because they rigged this thing to the teeth with bombs. So, there's a few different ways of disabling these in what order. I prefer to go for these 3 bombs first since they're kind of obscured out of the way. And then I SOCOM the remaining set. In theory, you could SOCOM almost every bomb except for those, one of the ciphers, which is where you need the PSG-1. So we're going to shoot those, shoot that so it pushes the pack of seagulls out of the way, and then ever so carefully take out this bomb, as well as that bomb. Okay, that was dangerously close. Alright, so we gotta hit the side one, and then just aim right at the snake. Boom. All the bombs are defused. So now we equip the SOCOM as we enter this trigger sequence, so that when we start to fight the Harrier, which, I don't know, to me is one of the hardest fights to be consistent with. It's part of a menuing setup so we can equip the Stinger quickly. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is equip our pistol while having the Stinger. And we want to aim on the outside missile pod as it does the most damage. So we're going to do 3 hits here, a 4th hit there, and then... Okay, so I didn't get it in time, but you can get 5 hits at the start if you get the 5th one quick enough. But 4 hits is still just above average for a start. So you notice I do these peak shots with the SOCOM, and by doing so, it gives you iframes, regardless of whatever attack the Harrier decides to do. Okay, so unfortunately I did not get the fast pattern here, since a few of my Stinger shots missed, so I'm just gonna get it in as many hits as I can before it passes over. Grab this ammo box here. Alright, so right as it passes the crane, get another one, followed by a second. Now I'm going to try to do this particular setup, so I need to focus for a second. So we just aim right up here. Alright, so what I just did there is whenever you see the missiles drop, it's a particular cutscene setup so that by the time that you skip and then fire the Stinger, it locks onto the Harrier even though it's like off screen. And it gives you a bonus hit rather than just 1 hit as it passes over. Alright, so again, doing the iframe peek so that the missiles don't kill me. Get in as many hits as I can. Okay, unfortunately that one's not going to make it. Alright, so here during this missile pod sequence, I'm just going to be doing the iframe, peeking until the missiles is stopped. Because like I said, every time you do this, you get invincibility frames. Let's see how many hits I can get here. What the? What the? Alright, so I think that should end the fight. Alright, so ideally you want to end the Harrier like at the missile barrage sequence. But since I did miss a few hits at the beginning, as well as not obtaining the 5-hit intro, the 5-hit setup, you know, it's you know, still a pretty good fight. Alright, so now that we've beaten the Harrier, we're gonna make our way by doing this ever so scary jump. You know, something that you can only do as Raiden since he has the, you know, the skills with cartwheeling to do so. And you notice that I'm equipping the BDU again because, like I mentioned before, it's got this indirect camouflage from a distance, which is going to be used here. So what we're going to do is, instead of tranquilizing those guards, we're just going to move through as fast as we can, go in hanging mode. And it's essential that you have the BDU on here so you don't get seen right away. And then once you get back up, cartwheel right to this ladder, climb up, and you're out. And so again, I'm going to be using a similar setup here. I'm just going to cartwheel once, twice, and then I'm going to knock on this wall, which makes this guard turn, so he does not see me. Now, I'm unequipping the BDU since I no longer need it. Because, for whatever reason, whenever you go into Shell 2 with the BDU on, it actually increases your loads. So ideally, by the time you get to this sequence, you just, you know, ditch the BDU altogether. And you don't enter with it in Shell 2. So we're throwing our final chaff grenade that we collected earlier, which is just giving us our entryway into the Shell 2, as it's guarded by 4 ciphers. Alright, so again, just making your scary jumps. Alright, so now we're in Shell 2, where the President is located. Alright, so first thing you're going to see me do is, during this D-Mic cutscene sequence, is I'm going to aim it left while mashing X. What that does is, not only does it skip the cutscene faster, but it puts your camera position facing the stairwell. Just a little minor optimization. Alright, so before we can actually free the President, we gotta acquire the Nikita launcher so we can destroy a circuit panel, which controls the floor, since it's all electrified. which unfortunately, you know, we gotta swim for it. You know, as, you know, thanks to the bomb that detonated earlier, parts of Shell 1, you know, kind of flooded. Actually, you know what, I take that back. It's pretty flooded. But, you know, this kind of begins the swimming sequence of the run. So what we're gonna do is make our way to the Nikita launcher. Its location varies by difficulty, but for, you know, higher difficulties, on, you know, hard through European Extreme, it spawns right in this hallway. And what I'm gonna do is press circle and down, which makes you go 180 while underwater. Again, just another minor optimization. And while you're in the water, your biggest priority is to avoid any mines, as any mines that hit you, regardless of HP, is an insta-kill on European Extreme. Alright, so now that we have the Nikita, make our way back to the first floor so we can free President Johnson, which has a particular setup. Yo, what's up, Segoy? Alright, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna wake up President Johnson since he kind of took a nap. You know, I mean, I can't blame the guy. He's been waiting in there this entire run for us to reach him. You know, I'd probably get pretty bored too. So, we fired that Stinger missile at that wall to wake him up and get him moving, which buys us time to get our Nikita missile inside the room. And if done properly, it's gonna force the president to move out of the way, and it clears your way to the circuit box. So as you can see, he just panics and runs off to the right, giving you a clear path to the circuit box, which is now destroyed, so we can now get in the room. Alright, so from here, Johnson gives you another key card to reach Emma Emmerich, who is Otachan's stepsister. Also the, you know, key element for trying to disable the GW AI system. As well as, you know, the president explaining, like, the true purpose of what the plan is for, arsenal gear, you know, who Solidus really is. But it was short-lived as, you know, as we meet the president and skipped all of his dialogue, he just kind of dies to death. Very tragic.
I took these photos 2 years.
You know, I'm pretty sure Snake didn't take that kind of picture. I mean, my pictures looked way better than that one. Alright, so now we're gonna make our way back into the B1 floor, which we're now gonna make our way towards the area where Emma is held, which then follows up soon with our first fight against Vamp. Vamp is very difficult casually, but we have a method of just cheesing him, exploiting his hitbox proximity with knifing. So what I'm gonna do is just set up my inventory for M9 Stinger, so I can set up the fight. And then we just go back to swimming. So, interesting fact about swimming is that your O2 gauge, when it depletes, it's tied towards your HP. Meaning so that if you're at full HP, your O2 gauge drains slowly, which is good, you know, so you can stay in the water longer. But if you're injured to any capacity, then your O2 gauge drains faster, you know, which puts you at greater risk of drowning. So typically, whenever possible, you want to get into this section without getting hurt. Because unfortunately on European Extreme, there are no rations anywhere in the game. Which is a good and a bad thing. Because for the Big Boss rank requirement, you can't use any rations, but since there aren't any to begin with, you know, no problem there. Alright, so now we're about to start the Vamp fight right as we get into this door. And I'll explain what I'm doing, like, as I start it. Alright, so first thing I'm gonna do is shoot Vamp in the head so it gets into the water faster. And then followed up with a Stinger. Now, typically I would have 2 missiles for that, but since I ran out during the Harrier fight, I only have the 1. So, Alright, so Vamp spawned to the left, which is good. He could spawn left or right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lure him in. And then stay close to him. And then as he does his knifing, you can exploit as many dodges as you can because his knife animation is very slow and exploitable. And just like that, a fight that would normally pull somebody's hair out is done in no time at all. You know, and the key thing really is just to stay away from the knife whenever he swipes it, because the hitbox, as small as it may appear, is actually rather wide. So it's very easy to get hit by it. And just like most other things, one hit from it and you're dead. Alright, so now I'm swapping to the BDU temporarily, so when I acquire this body armor, which does half damage, I could just menu to it quickly. Now, if you want to be optimal, people will actually skip the body armor, which is saving about 6 seconds. It's a risk-reward factor where you can either go into arsenal gear without the armor or with the armor. But I always typically grab the armor. You know, it just adds a safety factor for, you know, late setups with the Tengus and Rays when we get to that section in a little bit. But we finally met up with Emmerich. You know, we're trying to convince her to leave the room because the place is flooding. So now she's gonna go for a swim with us, literally right on her back. You know, so easy enough, just make 2 rights, hang a left, get you back to the chamber where you fought Vamp. You know, and even though you kind of need to escort Emma around, you can just kind of leave her there. You know, because you don't really need to drag her into the room. The game just assumes that you did, and it triggers this cutscene sequence. Alright, so now we gotta lead Emma back all the way to the Shell 1 B1 or B2 core, which is where the computer lab where we visited. You know, so again, there's gonna be more swimming involved, so on and so forth, while Emma kind of explains her part of being in the plant as well as being part of the project that's responsible for making the GW AI system, which we're meant to try to disable. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna acquire the PSG-1T, which is basically the non-lethal version of the PSG-1 sniper rifle. It's a very handy weapon to go for big boss runs, since you can snipe from a distance just like the regular rifle, just uses tranquilizer rounds. The downsides to it is it has a smaller clip size of 5 bullets, whereas the PGS-1 has a 20-round magazine size, but, you know, it does the job. So, you notice that I did not surface at any point, even though Emma was drowning. It's faster to only surface once for the weapon and just go to the end. Alright, so as we call the elevator, we're gonna get set up for our exit. And since Emma's afraid of bugs, we're just gonna kind of help her out and just say, you know what, Emma, I'm here with you. You know, because it's faster to just drag her out than try to spray the bugs away with the coolant. Alright, so next what you do is you follow this particular pattern where you go straight down and follow this inside wall, like so. And what this does is it kind of buys you some time for some guards to move out of the way, so that by the time you turn this corner, you're in the free and clear from the guard from behind and from the guard on the left, even though he's off screen. Now, once you get to here, it's going to trigger this guard from the elevator, and I kind of asked myself, where did this guy come from? I mean, clearly he wasn't in the B1 core, unless if he was hiding somewhere. But anyways, he's just kind of there for show. It doesn't really matter. So we're gonna trank this guard and this guard, and also do a box manip for this last guard guarding the doorway. All right, so like so. Alright, so I'm gonna do another trick where it's called the Emma bump. It's where you lead Emma up to this door, and then you kind of bump her through. And what this does is it places her further ahead, so that you don't have to walk at, you know, the snail pace as you're, you know, dragging her around. And Raiden goes through at normal speed. If done correctly, it saves you a couple seconds versus just going normally. So, I just picked up some new chaffs, which once I get to this point, I'm going to use one here, which disables all the ciphers in the area, as well as preventing a guard from summoning an alert, which is on the rooftop, as well as the guard on our upper half of the screen coming up here. So as we sit here and wait, I just put out the fire. Alright, so you might be wondering, like, you know, who detected me and why is it stuck? Well, the reason for throwing the chaff at the spot that I did, kind of gets somebody stuck. I mean, he's kind of got nowhere to go. I mean, I guess this is just an oversight where it's like, as soon as you're detected, he's scripted to move, but they didn't really give him anywhere to go to, so he just kind of stays there doing his leg exercises. Alright, so we're almost on our way to the Strata oil fence. So, first thing we're going to do is take out these two guards that are blocking the entrance to that fence line. So, as that guard makes his turn, we trank him and him. And then just get him into the door and down the ladder. Which pretty much wraps up the Emma escort. And then it will transition into the sniping sequence of the Emma escort. Now, as I open up this door, I'm just gonna grab her again. You know, just let her know that I'm here. It's a little bit faster than trying to grab her hand and then, you know, drag her in. Alright, so now we arrived at the oil's fence line, which is gonna be the sniping sequence, which takes a few minutes to do. But this is where we now use the PGS-1T. Yo, thanks, Smith Mantis. I appreciate it. Alright, so we're gonna pick up these thermal goggles so we can actually see the claymore mines that are planted. Normally they're not on lower difficulties, but on EuroExtreme there's quite a few of them. So we're gonna disable those. Okay, unfortunately I missed that one, so I have to get some ammo. Now, the reason why I'm staying back here is so that it avoids Emma from slipping and falling. There's a rather unique bug, which, depending on where you're standing and looking with your sniper scope, it can cause Emma to fall over and, you know, lose you like 8 to 10 seconds. Alright, so while she's making her way, I'm just gonna take care of some ciphers while Emma gets in position. And so the guards that show up consistently, which is upper left, lower right, and the lower left. Okay, and then once we've done that, Emma is in the free and clear. Just grab some more ammo. And then while she's making her way up, I'm gonna start disabling some of these mines here. There's 6 of them. And there's one at a very particular spot that's hard to reach. It's a pesky mine. You know, because it's hidden from view unless if you stand in a particular area. So unfortunately I cannot hit it from this spot because it's right here. So I'm gonna get the remaining 5 that I can get. And I think by this time Emma should have climbed up on this platform, which she did. Which I'm now gonna trank this guard that shows up. Alright, so the beauty of where I'm standing is, like, I'm right on top of an ammo box spawn for this rifle, so that every time I go underneath 5 rounds, I automatically get refilled as the ammo box just basically spawns on top of you, and you won't have to, like, move out of the way to get it. Alright, so now we're gonna try to hit the final mine, so there he is. Like I said, very hard to get. And then as you're eliminating guard ciphers spawn in, so you always have to be vigilant and clearing out the ciphers whenever possible. Because when Emma gets discovered, it doesn't really count as an alert. But the main issue is that it just slows you down because Emma gets frozen while the guards try to shoot her. So again, you want to do everything in your... You want to do everything in your capacity to, you know, clear out the guards and ciphers away from Emma, including the Claymore mines. You know, one mine is all it takes to kill your run, which I'm sad to say has happened, you know, several times to me. You know, because it's very easy to go into autopilot and then forget that there was a mine you didn't shoot. Alright, so again, it's going to go upper left, lower right for guards as she approaches the second platform. So here's the lower right guard, and then the lower left. And you might notice I'm just spamming the shots. You don't really have to go for headshots with the PGS-1T, since you can spam the rounds off pretty quick, that by the time that a guard gets hit with all 5 rounds, he's pretty much instant knocked out. You know, it's a lot faster, you don't have to zoom in with the scope as much. So what I'm gonna do here is empty off a round, or a mag, so that way I can set up a condition for fighting Vamp the second time, which the purpose of doing that is making sure that this ammo box is spawned when we start that sequence. Alright, so again, she's climbing the second platform, where I'm now gonna be shooting the last guard. Alright, so there we go, he's gone. So now we got 3 more ciphers left, including that one. And this one. For the time being it is, Mudcrab. Alright, so now we're just waiting for a codec call from Snake. Which he basically offers to help you, which is a mandatory call, so you cannot skip it. Since it's also required, since it's, you know, again, part of the encounter here. But, you know, we don't need his help, because by the time he shows up, there's really nothing left for him to do. But on lower difficulties, his call comes in faster. And on higher difficulties, he always comes by the time Emma's on the 3rd bridge. Alright, so that wraps up the ciphers I need to deal with, and let's get some commentary from Snake.
All right. Just a little more. Do I need to clear things with Otacon before I ask her out?
Possibly.
Phew.
And yes, he's totally checking out Emma.
Do I need to clear things with Otacon before I ask her out?
Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is use the Ptasmins, which will carry over into the second fight sequence with Vamp. So first thing I'm gonna do is swap to that same rifle, go right on top of the ammo box, and then rather than aim for his head, you could just aim right at his knees, particularly the right one. And then just, you know, spam his leg. You know, because every time Vamp gets hit, his head hitbox moves from side to side, but his legs never move. You know, so even though it does less damage per shot, it's faster just to aim for the leg. Alright, so that's the end of Vamp, so now we gotta make our way to the Shell 1 core, once again. Where now we're gonna make our way into the final segment of the game, which is Arsenal Gear, where things tend to get pretty intense. Alright, so I'm just gonna set up some items here. And we're gonna run into our last guard of the plant.
It's the enemy.
Give him a little bump so that it interrupts his call. Throw our final chaff grenade of the game so that, again, it disables every cipher here. And so you'll notice that as we come back to this connecting bridge, the panels that were missing before are still gone. And so you just want to keep in mind, you know, as you're coming back, you know, like where the gaps are, because, you You know, I've also lost runs there before from not, you know, noticing which panels were missing or just underestimating the distance. But made it back to the elevator. We're gonna go right back down to the B2 level for the computer lab where the hidden entrance to Arsenal gear is. But unfortunately, the way we get in is kind of unfortunate for Raiden. We kind of get captured.
Not a chance.
You know, Rose is offering to save and Raiden, even though you couldn't see him in the codec, he's like, saving? Not a chance.
It's been a while, hasn't it, Jack the Ripper?
You know this fellow?
You remember me, don't you? You've grown.
Alright, so fun fact, when this torture segment happens here, you don't have to do anything.
Implants. Have they altered your
You know, even
memory
though it says
too?
hold triangle repeatedly, or hit it repeatedly. Because if your O2 reaches 0, it doesn't do anything to you, it's just an interactive cutscene. But the second torture that you go through later does count. Alright, so now we're meeting up with Olga, who is secretly Mr. X, the ninja, that we met earlier in the game, who is now trying to help us.
Olga, you can't keep this up. They're
And
bound
we're
to
Raised
find
on
you.
One, which is,
I'll free you in a
she's
little
gonna
while.
kind of punch us.
Brace yourself.
You know, so she's gonna help us by lowering our HP by 1/3. You know, might seem like a mean thing to do, but in secret, it's actually gonna help us for a setup with Tengu 2. Now, normally if you wait, Rose will call you, but it's faster just to call her directly. And then just skip the, you know, just skip the codec. Alright, so now once that codec is over, Raiden's released. You know, as we make into our, you know, naked Raiden phase, if you would. You know, no weapons, no gear, no anything. So, we're gonna make our way through Arsenal Gear to Genom. Where the kernel AI is kind of, it's kind of a little messed up.
Who's there?
You know, because the virus they tried to upload was only partially complete, but the AI kernel is kind of bugging out, saying some weird things from time to time. But while he's trying to call us, we're gonna do a few cartwheels to do a very tight setup. So we're gonna go underneath this camera, cartwheel past the bridge, and then make this jump, which we did. There is a backup strat if you mess it up, but you will lose time. And I'm just gonna punch, kick this guard for safety reasons. Because sometimes if you cartwheel and miss, and if you get detected by the Tengu guards now, they're treated just the same way as the SWAT guards, where, you know, an instant detection is an automatic alert. And since we kind of have nothing to defend ourselves with, you don't want to fight. Alright, so now we just wait here in the hallway here, as the colonel is just gonna spam call us like 5 or 6 times until we wait for a call from Rose. Alright, so I think it should be like one more message. Hey, what's up, Cushman? I know, right? Best part of the game. Alright, so here's our call from Rose, which is required. You know, in order to advance in the game. Alright, so as that finishes up, we're gonna meet up with Snake, who has all of our gear, so no longer naked Raiden. As we now get our sword, which is a gift from Olga. Alright, so what you do is you swing the sword immediately because during this part right here, it's treated as a tutorial where it basically gives you, I think, approximately like 50 seconds to practice with the sword. But if you do not swing the weapon at least once, you'll stay in this hallway. Like, it will not advance. Like, you'll actually be, you know, you'll be stuck here. You know, but once you swing the sword at least once, you just gotta wait out a timer. You know, not much going on, but just practicing my sword abilities. Alright, so you notice that my inventory for my accessories has the body armor and box, as that's part of a setup for what's now gonna be, honestly, is like one of the scariest parts of the run, which is Tengu 1. There's a particular setup I'm gonna try to do to clip through a door. So I'm gonna explain it like as I do it. So first thing I'm gonna do is select my stuns, throw the first one at this group, go into box so I can kind of take cover for a bit, wait for it to detonate. Alright, so as that detonates, I'm gonna throw my second one. Throw the third one, and the last one at the door, and then as you're facing away. So what you do is you punch, punch, kick, and, you know, so like what you do there, how that glitch works is you lay flat up against the door, and then while in first person view, you start your punch, punch, kick, and then on the kick, you let go of the camera, and it basically clips you through the door. And I believe the reason that it works is that that door doesn't require a card, so that you can just clip right through it. And since I did take a hit, I don't have to do any damage to myself, since Snake spawns with the M4 when you're at 25% HP. So I'm gonna grab this Tengu from the beginning and choke him 9 times. So this is number 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. Okay, 9. Now, the reason why I'm keeping this guy alive is, what happens is when a Tengu from Wave 1 stays alive for so long, past, you know, most of the encounter, the game doesn't really know. Oh, okay. Okay, we're okay. Yeah, Snake kind of wanted to get some cuddle time, so he kind of got in the way. But I think we're alright. So what you want to do is you want to keep this guy alive as long as possible, so that what happens is the game doesn't really know how to process a Tengu that goes down so late. So all you do is like you just grab him from the beginning, choke him 9 to 10 times, and then you just keep him alive as long as possible until he passes out. And then by doing so, the game's like, hey, what's that Tengu doing alive? And then it just ends the encounter. It's pretty neat. Saves you like a few minutes of having to fight an endless wave of Tengus.
Not a bad idea, though. Using fire to fight fire, creating the perfect assassin to retire Solid Snake's
Alright, so
brother.
coming up is probably going to be the most intense part of the run, so I'm not going to really do much commentary as I need to concentrate, since after Solidus' speech, you're going to have to go up against 20 rays, or rather do the damage equivalent of 20 rays, which has it has a couple of setups on how to do it, which involves a looping method, which is a method of trying to control the rays a certain way so that it doesn't prevent them from surrounding you, going into like a free-for-all chaotic mess.
But I've made use of you, and their plan to...
And the loop I'm about to do was taught to me by another speedrunner who goes by DLimes13. He's the current world record holder for this category that I'm running, as well as other difficulties for MGS2. So, like I said, as soon as it starts, I'm just gonna kind of briefly explain it, and then I just need to focus. You know, because with my current condition, one hit of anything besides machine gun fire, even with body armor on, will kill me.
And now you've been led back to war by something less.
So like I said, I'm not kidding when I say that this is pretty scary. Alright, so here we go. So I'm gonna cartwheel forward and hit each ray starting from the middle in the head, followed by the right. So hit him in the knee to open up his mouth, then hit the left one. And so I'm gonna rinse and repeat this until the one in the middle jumps on stage. You know, because hitting the ray when the mouth is open does the most damage, and the knee will always make the mouth get open. Alright, so this ray's gonna jump on stage, and I'm gonna hit this one right before it jumps. My cartwheel so I don't get knocked over. Bait out the water cannon, which you don't want to get hit by, because that will kill you. Okay, so I didn't get that one, so I'm gonna hit him again. Alright, so this ray's gonna go on stage a little bit late, which is okay. Just get a couple hits in. And then when this ray, AO4 shows up, you hit it twice. Leave the other one alone for the time being. Alright, so then once you do that, hit number 5. Alright, so I did get knocked over, which is not the end of the world. So I'm just gonna do a double knock there just to play it safe. And then while that ray gets destroyed, I start attacking the next one while trying to manage the other ray that's on the right half side of the area. Alright, so this ray's gonna jump up next, and the way I can tell of which ray is gonna be next is that the ray that has the lowest health within the area is always gonna be the next one to jump on stage. Alright, so this ray being the lower HP of the other one is going to jump up next, so I'm just going to squeeze in another hit. Alright, that was a little bit close there. Alright, so that ray got away, which is, again, not a big deal, because primarily they show up on the right here, which is what you want. That enables you to loop them in this way, which basically means, like, as one is coming on stage, another one is getting eliminated. And you want to rinse and repeat this as long as possible, as it keeps it contained to a reasonable capacity. So as a new one comes in, I just hit its weak spot, try to kill the other one, then try to hit the next one before it jumps on stage, and continuously collect ammo whenever possible. So the ray on the left is going to move over, which is okay. We'll deal with it later. And then try to loop it off these two instead. Alright, so hopefully that ray should come on stage next, so I can quickly take it out. Alright, so there we go. Just get a 2-hit setup while trying to damage that one. So there we go, I took that ray out. Oh, I missed that one. kind of got away from me, but I think we should still be okay. You know, Luke is still intact. You know, so nobody goes into missiles or anything that I don't want them to do. A little bit early. Alright, so I did have a little bit of mistakes there, but generally the way that loop works is that you basically get rays spawning from your right, and as one jumps on stage, another one shows up on your right, and so as you're doing a knee and a hit to the head, you're doing the same thing to another ray, and you basically are able to loop both of them, while the third one either moves around or stays put, and allows you to control the encounter.
I'll squeeze the answers out of you instead, my son.
Alright, so here's the torture sequence that I talked about. Now, unlike the other one, you do need to actually need to resist this one, otherwise your run's over. You know, thankfully on HD Collection, they shorten the amount of time that it is required. On other versions, such as Sons of Liberty and Substance, the torture segment is like a minute, 50 seconds, depending on which one it is. But on this one, it's around like 15. So it's pretty manageable. Alright, so we're coming up to the final boss fight of the game, which is against Solidus. There's a way to loop him with combination of punching and using the blade that we acquired earlier. But until then, we're just gonna skip some very long codecs. Alright, so we got one last set of codecs here. Just basically the AI kernel and rows just, you know, explaining what the S3 system really is, and they kind of just mock you and all that stuff, but we don't care about that. So about Solidus, so what we're going to do is we're going to punch him from the beginning, which he's going to block, and he's going to automatically kick. So we're going to hit him 3 times, block him on his good eye, and the side with the eye patch being his left eye, we're going to punch him another set of 3 times. And by doing so, you can loop him repeatedly until phase 2. Which again, you just strike his good side, hit him on his left. Gotta be in his blind spot, so I'm gonna try that again. Alright, so there you go. So as long as you manage your movement, you know, you'll usually get these blind spot hits every time. I think I got it. Alright, there we go.
Good work, Jack. But this is where it gets in.
Alright, so now in phase 2, he ditches the tentacle arms. You know, starts getting serious, and then what he'll start to do is he'll either zip right to you or starts going all over the place. It's RNG. Alright, so unfortunately I got a bad pattern where he moved around a lot and he did a sword combo. You ideally want him to do an elbow attack, which leaves him open when you block it. But like I said, it's random when he does it and how he does it, like during like the phase 2 like sequence. You know, so just like phase 1, you're exploiting his blind spot with the eye patch, and just rinse and repeat until the fight's over. Alright, so timer stops on the final hit. Time. So, final time of 1:24:15, which is within the hour-and-a-half estimate. And even though I won't play the rest of this out, but this is BigBoss.
Do you remember this place?
I did not get killed. I did not get any kills. I did not get detected. You know, none of that stuff.
I remember now.
So, it's a little bit behind
Today
my
is
current
the
PB,
day
which
I
is
met
1:32:53, which is the
That's it.
final in-game time. But for RTA, which is also part of my submission, is 1:24:15. The estimate is 1:30, given if I either take deaths in Tengu's 1 or 2, a death at Ray's. But overall, it's a good run. I mean, I got the BigBoss rank. It's definitely not easy to get. I mean, lots of things can happen in the end game, but
What?
but anyways, it was a pleasure to run this. I've been running this game for a little over a year,
Are you talking about
and
the baby?
you know, thanks to the help and guidance of the MGS2 speedrunning community,
Many things that aren't written into our DNA.
I've been able to
It's
improve
up
my
to
time
us
significantly.
To teach that to our children.
And
What kind of things?
you know, with your
About the
consideration,
environment, our
I
ideas,
appreciate
our culture,
you watching this video, and for
poetry,
anyone else watching, I hope you enjoyed the run.
passion,
And
sorrow, joy.
with your consideration,
We'll tell them
I
everything
look forward
together.
to seeing
that
if this run will get in or not. But
proposal?
otherwise, thank you for watching,
This is for
and
your
have a good day.
ears.